Hey, welcome back everyone. This is Bill. I am an expat from the US living full-time in the Philippines. And if you haven't caught on by now, I'm also a prepper. A couple things in this video you might notice right away is I'm having a little bit of fun and I'm playing around with my video productions. So you got a green screen and a couple other things I'm experimenting with, just trying to up my quality of video game. So if you notice that difference, comment below if you like it or if you have any suggestions, because keep in mind I'm new to all this stuff as well. All right, so today I kind of wanted to touch on a topic I've been trying to get to on my Sunday mind dumps, but fortunately I have such good subs, they keep me occupied with questions and other topics. But I've been wanting to go back and readdress and talk about a subject I touched on 8 months ago when I first started this YouTube channel. And I'll try to link that up here above. But that was basically about water being the new gold standard, right? If you don't have water, you don't have much of anything. So no farming, no life sustainability, none of that stuff. So I will try to link that above. But what I want to talk about today is what's changed in the last 8 months from my perspective. And honestly, I'm going to tell you it's worse. It is absolutely worse globally. There's some spots the water's been doing okay. In like Northern California is a great example. They switched it up really big in the last 8 months when it comes to snow and rainfall. Now Lake Tulare recreated again, and the good part of this is they got a large body of water. Some of it's being evaporated, but a lot of it is slowly making its way back down into the groundwater. So that's good. The bad news is Lake Tulare flooded a whole lot of prime farming land and crops that were currently there at the time of the rising or the resurrection of that lake, which will probably be around for quite a while as the ground absorbs it or evaporation happens. And they have a solid snowpack that's planning to release a lot of water. Now, a lot of their hydrothermal dams and reservoirs are still low, but they're so much better than they were 8 months ago. So that's actually a positive, right? And I'm hoping that they can get a lot of this groundwater and snow runoff back into the ground versus washed out to sea or down the river or evaporated by just because it's standing still somewhere like in Tulare. But I'm going to try to bring up some graphics. Now I'm doing this kind of off the fly, so I'm just going to kind of point and hopefully I'll get the graphics in the right spot when I do this post-editing. But I want to talk about Spain and France, right? So let's go to Europe. Right now, Spain and France came off of all of Europe came off of a very warm and dry winter. So they are absolutely in trouble with their water reserves going into the summer, then spring growing season, right? So Spain has a huge problem with potable drinking water and water use for irrigation to farmland, as well as France, right? So in all of February, which is a normally good rainy time of, in Europe, there was zero rain in France in February. And that's scary, right? That doesn't bode well for the next coming 5 months when they're going to be relying on that water source to irrigate and feed their farming initiatives. Sticking around in Europe, I'm going to talk about Italy as well. We all saw the pictures of the gondolas in Italy that were sitting in mud because there wasn't enough water to keep the canals in Venice flowing. And that didn't get any better either, right? So the warm, dry winter definitely is going to have an effect in northern Italy specifically, right? So they're really running out of water. The news article I'm linking here shows that it's the worst drought in Italy in 70 years. 70 years, this is the worst. And you know what? It's not going to get better. It's just a really bad situation. Italy grows a lot of food. One of the big producers of food, as you see here, is Argentina, right? So Argentina is absolutely in a crop disaster right now, following 5-6 years of drought. And it's not just the crops that we eat or the crops that they export, it's also the crops they use for feeding their cattle. So they culled a lot of their beef last year because they didn't have enough water and food to feed them. And this year, it's not going to be better, right? They're just going to be in a bad shape. I think some of you guys are starting to see the effect of last year's cull with the price of beef, but that's a different video. So the droughts haven't gotten better there at all. So here in the Philippines, it's the same kind of issue. The government's got in front of the fact that they don't have enough water, or they're anticipating to have water shortages going into the summer, which is getting really hot right now, to run the hydroelectric plants that they have. So they're already pre-warning us of rolling and scheduled blackouts that are going to be on the horizon. Now, this lack of water will also affect the growing cycles out here as well. So we have that to look forward in the Philippines. South Korea, you guys don't think about it much, but South Korea is having an extreme prolonged drought. South Korea grows a lot of food. They're a huge produce country, right? They export a lot of food, and they're having problems, as seen here. Another country in Europe that you probably haven't thought about is Germany, with the Rhine River being at the lowest level it's been in, I think, 40 years. Germany is struggling to have enough water to have drinking water available for everyone. Germany's going into a rationing program right now where they're going to try to classify consumers on their water needs. Listen to me for a second. They're trying to say that if you're just a regular person, you get this much water and that's it. If you're a business that depends on water, you get X and that's it. So they're already trying to put together a rationing scheme going forward into the rest of the summer drought, because they realize there's not enough water to go around if they don't. Madagascar, no big shock. Anything in the southern part of the world is dry. Madagascar's biggest drought in 40 years. Famine out there is insane. All their animals, their wildlife is dying off. It's actually a really bad spot to be. Again, Johannesburg, South Africa, they're chasing water outages, and this is a major city, and they can't keep water going, and they know that they're going to run out of water for their populace. This is drinking water in Johannesburg. Switch back to the other side, Jakarta. Jakarta is saying that most people cannot find safe drinking water. They just can't find it. It's not available. Wells are drying up. Sanitation is a big issue, right? So people are trying to cook off dirty water just so they can have something that's somewhat drinkable, and it's causing a lot of issues there as well. And we all know about Taiwan and the issues with China, but Taiwan itself, I haven't seen anybody really talk about it on the news, but they've had their lowest level of rainfall in, 30 years according to the thing. So water isn't just something you want to think about in one or two spots. Again, Jordan, they're having problems. So when mainstream media is starting to talk about globally that the complete lack of water everywhere isn't just, a talking point for South Africa, right? Where there's, it's a desert for a lot of it. You're like, yeah, there's a drought, yeah, there's a famine. We're talking about Jordan, Jakarta, Taiwan, Germany, Italy, France, UK, a lot of parts of the United States, believe it or not, Mexico, Argentina. These places are running out of good drinking water. I already talked about China. China is struggling with usable water, and it stems for a lot of reasons. They've had a large drought as well, and they've had a hard time producing their own grains, rice, wheat, and stuff, so they've been importing a lot. But they polluted a lot of their water over the years, so a lot of their groundwater is polluted, so they're having a hard time getting good, clean water just for drinking as well. I'm telling you folks, water is the new gold. If you have the ability to produce water like we do, even in a pandemic situation where everyone's locked down, my business is flourishing because we are selling good, clean, drinkable water. If you're a prepper and you don't have a way to make or collect and filter good water, such as rainwater or something from a nearby creek or river, you better start stacking some water, because you might find that it's going to be extremely rare in the next 2 years with this drought cycle not letting up. And it's going to have a fallback issue and fallback problems to food. And I keep stressing this, number one and number 2 is food and water. The food shortages and food inflation is going to continue to go up. A lot of this is driven by the lack of water. So if you haven't checked out my video from 8 months ago and listened to my ramblings from then, and if you want to compare it to what's going on in the world today, you might see that my predictions are even worse than I thought they would be. Going forward, folks, keep your eye on water. Keep an eye on the droughts. Keep an eye on your personal ability to produce and keep water for a long period of time. Not a 2 weeks, not 3 week supply. You need to make sure you have water. I tell you what, you can have all the gold in the world, but if you're thirsty, you'll trade that big bar of gold for some nice, clean drinking water, trust me. So that's my rambling. This is my thought, and agree or disagree, go ahead and put some comments down below. I appreciate everyone that wants to talk about water or anything prepping in general. If you have any feedbacks on my new format that I'm trying to work out with my video productions, let me know. I hope it comes out well. You know, I'm bored, it's something to do, so I'm trying to up that game a little bit as well. If you're still watching all the way to the end of this video, please hit that like button. And if you're not a subscriber, check out some of my content. Maybe something will make you happy. Maybe you want to follow me along. So I appreciate every single one of you that are still watching and have been watching my videos. Until next time, thank you.